back in the house. You know, he would go and he would proclaim, and people were just listening to every word that came out of his mouth. They couldn't wait to hear more of what Jesus said. And then there were the healings, there were the miracles. My goodness gracious, people were just coming by the throngs to see this Jesus, to experience him, to feel what it was like to just be in his presence. And they loved it. And one day, and it comes before the passage that Nancy read for us this morning. One day then Jesus turns and he says, well, who do you think that I am? Who do you say that I am? Because others had said. And Peter says, you're the Son of God. And he says, you've got it. That's my promise. That's God's promise right here among you. Here's God. This time, here he is again. And what is the next thing that comes out of Peter's mouth? Jesus then turns to all the disciples and says, look, he got it right. Now let me tell you what's going to happen. And Jesus proceeds to tell them the terrible, awful things that are going to happen to him. He's going to suffer. He's going to be rejected. Now, can you imagine? Here's a guy who packs the house. Here's a guy who's got people coming from everywhere. And now he's telling them, they're going to reject me. And wait, there's more. They're going to kill me. And Peter's first reaction is, whoa, wait a minute, Jesus. This is not the stump speech we need to be hearing from you. You know what a stump speech is, right? That's that speech politicians give at every stop where they go, okay? And Peter's saying, wait a minute, Jesus. This is not the stump speech we need. This is not going to pull people into the cause. This is going to send people away. What in the world do you think you're doing? You need to take a break. Get over here. Get quiet. Let's talk about this. And so he takes him off to the side, and the Bible says he rebuked him. You like that word, rebuke? Yeah? I was like to go in the office one day and say, I'm rebuking you. But then, Jesus, he doesn't take Peter off to the side. He comes back over and he says to all the disciples, get thee behind me, Satan. Get thee behind me, Satan. Because suddenly, Jesus is letting them know that the promise that he's there for is not the promise they think they're living into. The promise that Jesus is there is the promise to free us, as we've said for century upon century, from the slavery to sin and death. You know what the slavery to sin is? I hate it when we use phrases and we don't stop to really get a sense of what that means for me. You know what that's like? I told them this week, as we've been doing this Lenten Bible study, and I hope you're going to join us because we're only into week 2 this week, and you got plenty of time, 10 o'clock Wednesday morning, 6:30 Wednesday night, 6 o'clock if you want food, okay? Here's the advertisement. But I've been telling you, slavery to sin and death, slavery to sin and death. So there's a package of cookies on the table. Now you know already, my vice is sweets. Yeah? I have someplace in my tongue that just screams, gotta have, gotta have, gotta have. So there's a package of cookies on the table. And I eat one cookie. Shouldn't do it, Gary. I eat 2 cookies. Shouldn't do it, Gary. I eat 3 cookies. Shouldn't do it, Gary. But by the 3rd cookie, what's happened? By the 3rd cookie, now what's going off in my brain is, oh, forget it. Just eat the whole pack. Why bother? See, that's slavery to sin right there. See what I mean? It's not like I ate 1 cookie, I could, walk maybe an extra 10 minutes the next day. Now it's literally, it controls me, and I have made the conscious choice that now there is no way out of it. I've blown it, I might as well just go ahead. And so I give myself then over to it, and it controls me, and I now am a slave to it, and the damage is pretty awful that it can do. And I'm not talking about cookies now, right? I'm talking about all kinds of things. That's what it means to be a slave to sin. And Jesus says, no, the promise this time is that it's never too late to stop, because there is a way out, because I will forgive. But it's not an instant fix like sometimes we think. And that's part of the problems with the disciples as well. That they're waiting for that instant fix. They're waiting for God to say, wait a minute, here we go. Romans are gone. It's not an instant fix, this thing we call discipleship. There's a story about this Russian comedian. He tells about it. He comes to the U.S. for the first time, and he goes in a grocery store, and he's overwhelmed by all of the instant things that he finds, He says, I can't believe it. There's this powder, this milk powder, and you just add water and you get milk. And I go down the aisle and you just, here's this orange juice powder, and you just add water and you get orange juice. I tried like anything to like tame because the astronauts drink it. Remember? Yeah? I hated this stuff, but I tried, you know? I tried. So he's got milk powder, he's got orange juice powder. And then I went down the aisle and there's baby powder.